Hey, it's Lex. I wanted to talk to you today about the major and minor pentatonic scales, particularly with this chart here. If you don't have this, get with me and I will send it to you ASAP. This is the major pentatonic scale, minor pentatonic scale, and these numbers here on the side are what the frets are according to the graph. It's actually starting right at 0, so this is the nut, first fret, second fret, and then as you can see the number says 3. The numbers next to the dots are which fingers to use, so you got index as 1, middle is 2, ring 3, and pinky 4. And these are pretty straightforward if you've ever done scales with me before or any graphs like this. Things like this pop up in Guitar World, so if you have any questions on that, let me know. So what's in particular about these two that we wanted to study them together is you can see that we've got some circled notes, and those notes actually are telling you where these scales combine. And so that's why we're doing a 5th string start on the major pentatonic instead of them both being 6th string. We got 5th string start and 6th string. So on the major pentatonic in this particular video, we're not going to use the big E string, the 6th string. So let's go through it. We'll start with the major pentatonic. The root note, the actual scale that it is whatever middle finger note that you start on. So in this case, it's starting on the 3rd fret, which is a C. So A, B flat, B, and then C, right? And so whenever you start the scale, wherever you start it with your middle finger is going to be the root note. So this is C. That's going to be middle pinky, index pinky, index pinky, middle pinky, middle pinky. If I were to start it somewhere else, it would still be the major pentatonic scale, but it would be a different starting root note. So for instance, if you wanted E flat major pentatonic, you would start it on the 5th string, 6th fret. This is kind of the meat and potatoes of the scales. It's always going to sound good, and what's great about these is that anytime that a major pentatonic or a major chord pops up, you can play the major pentatonic on it, no matter what kind of major chord it is, whether it be C, D, or anything like that. When you start getting into funky chords like 7s and 6s and different 11, 13s, jazz chords or whatever have you, it will still work unless there's like a flat 9 or something like that, but most of the time it will. So especially when it just says a major chord, it's definitely going to work. So don't worry too much about the fancy jazz chords just yet with it, but just know any major chord that pops up, it'll work with it, and most of the other major chords it will. You'll just have to start it start it at the right place. So if you're at C major and you want to play some notes over it, you could play C major pentatonic. You could also do minor pentatonic for minor chords. So if you're doing A minor, you could play A minor pentatonic. So as long as you start your index finger with this one on an A, which would be the 5th fret of the 6th string, you can make this happen. So it'll be index pinky, index ring, index ring, index ring, index pinky, index pinky. Now if you use it just like the graph here, to where these circled dots are the same, they work together. So if you're playing C major and you want to switch between C major pentatonic and A minor pentatonic, you can do that because they literally share the same exact notes. The major pentatonic whole step, half step construction here is a whole step, a minor 3rd jump, and then a whole step, and then a minor 3rd jump. A minor pentatonic is a minor 3rd step, whole step, minor 3rd step, and then a whole step. So it still shares the same construction, it'll just start differently, but it still has whole step, minor 3rd, whole step, minor 3rd, depending on where you start it. So all that to say, it's the same notes, and it gives you a lot of space to cover on the fretboard, and it really helps out when you're trying to solo, especially if you can't think of all the modes or anything like that. These notes will also be the meat and potatoes, like I said, because they're always going to sound more distinct toward the chord. There's a couple outside notes of the chord, but they're not as colorful necessarily as some of the mode notes will give you. So there's only 5 notes in this. That's kind of the reason why it's pentatonic, penta being 5. There's other reasons, but that's probably the easiest. So anyway, it's really enjoyable. So anytime that a chord comes up, you can use major pentatonic over it and use the relative minor pentatonic. All you have to do is be aware of how they go together. And so wherever your pinky note is for the major pentatonic, right above it is going to be where you start the minor pentatonic. So you can do things like switch up to the minor pentatonic, switch down to the major, Cool. If you have any questions about that, let me know. It should be relatively simple. The main thing that you'll have to know is the notes on the fretboard, especially for the 6th and 5th string, and then where the root notes are for the scale. So middle finger for major pentatonic and index finger for minor pentatonic. Another example would be if you're an F. F on the 5th string is going to be the 8th fret, and so you'd play the major pentatonic here. Goes in nicely, and then, like I said, you would go to the pinky note, or right there, yep, of the major pentatonic, and right above it would be where you start the minor pentatonic to add to it.